Imagine yourself just beneath the surface of a peaceful lake, where sunlight breaks into slow-moving ribbons of gold. Around you, fish drift like living brushstrokes, each one part of a world that moves without hurry. You notice how fish never blink, their eyes always open, gentle and unguarded, because the water around them keeps their eyes moist on its own. It gives them a constant awareness of light and movement, a soft sense of the world that never fully closes. Some swim in small, shimmering groups called schools, where each fish senses tiny changes in the water, a shift in pressure, a whisper of movement. Without speaking, without sound, they turn together like one body made of many minds. This harmony comforts you as you drift nearby, watching the subtle ballet of collective motion. A little farther, a fish glides past using its lateral line, a delicate row of sensory pores along its body. It lets the fish feel currents as if they were touchable threads, guiding them even through cloudy water. To live this way is to navigate by feeling rather than sight, a quiet intuition shaped by the water's own stories. You notice that some fish breathe in a surprisingly peaceful way, drawing water through their mouths and letting it pass over their gills. These delicate structures pull oxygen from the water, working with slow, rhythmic grace. Some species can even breathe air when water grows still and warm, rising gently to the surface to sip a breath the way a person inhales morning air. Nearby, a ray-like fish rests on the sandy bottom, blending so perfectly with its surroundings that you might have missed it. Many fish use color-shifting pigments to adapt to the world around them, calming themselves by matching the sand, the rocks, or the shade. This isn't fear, just a natural quietness, a desire to fit gently into the landscape. In the shallows, tiny fish nibble at floating leaves. Many species are omnivores, tasting a little bit of everything the water offers. Algae, drifting insects, even the soft biofilm on stones. Their world is one of slow grazing, rhythmic and unhurried. Some fish communicate with flashes of color, changing the brightness of their scales to say, "Here I am," or "Everything is calm." Color becomes their gentle language, a soft glow shared with the water around them. The deeper you drift, the quieter everything becomes. Here, fish often grow larger eyes, shaped to gather every possible glimmer of fading light. Some carry small pockets of glowing bacteria, tiny constellations on their bodies, known as bioluminescence. They don't shine to frighten or to threaten. They shine to stay connected, a signal of presence in the dim blue calm. You notice how fish rest, not with eyelids closing, but by settling their bodies into slower, quieter rhythms. Many hover in place, held by gentle fin movements, entering a state like drifting half-sleep. In another corner of the underwater world, you see how some fish build small nests out of pebbles. They move each tiny stone carefully, shaping a cradle for the next generation. Others carry their eggs in their mouths, keeping them safe in a quiet space until they're ready to swim on their own. One fish moves in a slow spiral, part of a species that migrates across vast distances. Some fish travel hundreds or even thousands of miles, guided by temperature, currents, and magnetic fields. Their journeys are part of the water's larger breathing pattern. Ancient routes followed with calm persistence. You may notice that fish come in thousands of shapes, some smooth and silver, others round and gentle, others slender as willow leaves. Each shape is tuned to the water, it moves through. The slow stillness of lakes, the playful push of streams, the steady rhythm of ocean tides. Bubbles rise around you, drifting upward like small, wandering lanterns. These tiny spheres remind you that many fish release air, not just to breathe, but to adjust their buoyancy, using swim bladders to stay balanced in the water. It is a soft and silent method, like slowly filling your chest with a breath just deep enough to float. Before you rise again toward the surface, you see one last moment. A fish pausing near a patch of light. Its scales catch the sun and glow with a shifting rainbow, known as iridescence. This effect happens because tiny layers in its skin reflect light in delicate waves, as if carrying a piece of the morning sky beneath the water. All around you, the world of fish feels like a dream carried under calm water, full of soft motion, gentle adaptation, and rhythms that echo your own slow breathing. As you glide a little farther from the shore, the water grows cooler, and the world around you seems to settle into an even slower rhythm. A gentle dimness takes over, turning everything a shade deeper, softer. Here, fish move with a kind of peaceful certainty, shaped by the stillness and the steady pulse of the water around them. You notice first how many fish are nearly weightless, their bodies designed to float with effortless ease. Their bones are lighter than those of land animals, and some species even have hollow or delicate skeletal structures, making their movements smooth and buoyant. In a place where gravity softens, their bodies become instruments of calm motion. Nearby, a small group of fish fan out their fins like tiny sails. Fish fins are not rigid tools. They are flexible, layered structures filled with fine rays that let fish steer with incredible gentleness. A slight tilt creates slow turns. A soft ripple along the fin lifts them upward, and a subtle flick brings them forward. Their entire world is built on micro movements that look almost like breathing. You drift beside a fish with scales edged like delicate armor. Some scales are smooth, while others are rough enough to feel like sandpaper. Many species have cycloid or catenoid scales designed to overlap like shingles, giving flexibility and protection at once. Yet in the water, they shimmer softly, more like feathers than shields. Below you, a dark patch of sand suddenly shifts, the silhouette of a flounder rising slowly from the bottom. Some fish, like this one, have evolved both eyes on one side of their head, allowing them to rest flat while remaining aware of everything above. Their bodies change shape as they grow, their eyes migrating gently during early development. It's a quiet kind of transformation, happening long before they discover the world as adults. A school of tiny fish passes by, each one reflecting light like a drifting star. Many small fish have silver sides that act almost like mirrors, scattering sunlight, so they blend into the brightness around them. This natural camouflage keeps them safe, but it also fills the water with moving specks of glitter that feel almost magical. You drift deeper still and come across a species that glows faintly blue. Some fish can see colors humans can't, shades in the ultraviolet range that shimmer and pulse where our eyes see nothing. They use these hidden colors for signaling, navigating, and choosing mates, creating conversations made entirely of invisible light. Just ahead, a fish hovers near a rock, its mouth opening and closing in tiny, gentle pulls. This species practices mouth brooding, keeping its eggs or its young tucked safely inside its mouth, until they're strong enough to swim alone. The parent doesn't eat during this time, choosing protection over hunger. It is one of the calmest and most devoted forms of care in the underwater world. Close to the riverbed, you watch as a fish grazes on algae, almost like a small underwater grazer sweeping the surface of stones. Many fish help keep waterways clean by gently scraping away growth, shaping entire ecosystems with these quiet feeding habits. Their work is slow, repetitive, and soothing to watch, a natural rhythm that tidies the underwater landscape. A little farther on, you come across a group of fish resting in the shadows. Some species enter a form of nighttime stillness, slowing their metabolisms as they settle among roots or rocks. They don't close their eyes, but their bodies soften, their fins drift less often, and they enter a kind of dreaming drift. This nightly pause helps them conserve energy, just as nighttime helps you settle into the quiet of sleep. Another fish glides by with a long, ribbon-like body that sways with every current. Some species rely on their shape more than their fins. Eel-like fish move with whole-body waves that echo the flow of water around them. They slip through crevices and weave through branches with a grace that feels like slow dancing. A pair of fish swim in gentle circles around one another, moving in patterns that look like a private ritual. Many fish form long-lasting bonds, returning to the same partner each season or staying together year-round. Their movements reflect trust, synchronized arcs, soft turns, and shared space in the water. Another fish rests in a hollow of the riverbed. Some species bury themselves lightly in sand, leaving only their eyes or tails visible. Their bodies are shaped to let water pass over them without revealing their presence, turning stillness into a form of quiet survival. Higher above, you notice small fish traveling alongside much larger ones. This is a common practice, commensal swimming, where smaller fish stay close to gentle giants for safety without disturbing them. The larger fish provides calm protection simply by being present. As you drift deeper, the surroundings become more serene, and the soundscape becomes softer. You sense that fish are sensitive to vibrations, picking up distant footsteps, dropping leaves, or ripples in the surface far above. They feel the world in waves rather than noise, a form of listening that doesn't rely on ears, but on the whole body. One last fish glides past with colors that shift in the dimness, blues that appear green, greens that glow like soft gold. This is because many fish have multiple layers of pigments and reflective cells that bend light in gentle ways. Their colors change depending on angle, depth, and light, giving them an almost dreamlike presence in the water. The deeper you go, the more the world feels like a drifting realm of quiet shapes and living occurrence, a place where life moves slowly, fluidly, and in harmony with the surrounding blue. The water around you grows quieter still, almost velvety in its calmness, as if sound itself has softened into gentle echoes. Here, fish drift through a world shaped by cool currents and the faint shimmer of light filtering from far above. Everything feels slower, deeper, wrapped in a peaceful blue that invites you to relax a little more with every breath you take. A slender fish glides past, and you notice the fine pattern on its skin. Many fish have mucus layers coating their bodies, protecting them from tiny organisms and making it easier to slip through the water. This coating gives them a smooth, glass-like appearance, as if they're wrapped in a thin layer of moonlight. Nearby, a group of fish huddles together among drifting plants. Some species form these quiet clusters, not only for safety, but for warmth, gently sharing body heat in cooler waters. Their closeness feels like a soft ripple of companionship beneath the surface. A fish stirs the sand as it feeds, sifting through grains with small rhythmic motions. Many bottom-dwelling species search for food this way, using taste buds on their lips or even on their fins to find tiny morsels. They taste the world not only with their mouths, but with their whole bodies. A ray-like fish glides low to the ground, stirring up delicate clouds of silt. You watch how its entire body acts like a wing, moving with a slow, flapping grace that barely disturbs the water around it. Rays often use electroreception, sensing faint electrical fields to navigate or find food. A sense beyond touch or sight, quiet and precise. Just above, a small fish flashes a quick burst of color. Some species change their hues not only for camouflage, but to express gentle moods, curiosity, readiness to mate, or calm contentment. Their skin holds layers of reflective cells that shift with angle and light, turning emotion into a shimmering language. In the distance, a long-bodied fish rises toward the surface for a small sip of air. Certain species, like gouramis or arapaima, possess specialized organs that let them breathe atmospheric oxygen. It's a simple, quiet adaptation for living in warm, still waters where the air can hold more life than the water itself. You drift toward a forest of underwater plants, where small fish weave in and out like soft beads on invisible strings. The plants offer shelter, food, and gentle cover, creating an underwater meadow where movement is restful, never rushed. A fish with wide fan-like fins hovers in place, barely moving. Its fins flutter like the wings of a sleeping bird. Some species use hovering techniques, adjusting tiny fin motions to stay completely still, as if suspended in a pocket of calm. This ability helps them conserve energy, a peaceful stillness in a world always drifting. Another fish swims past, its mouth brushing stones with gentle taps. Fish have teeth in surprising places, on their jaws and their throats, even lined along their gills. These hidden teeth help them process food quietly and efficiently, creating no noise at all, just small motions you barely notice. In a shallow area, a small fish leaps briefly from the surface. Some species jump to avoid obstacles or catch insects, breaking the water with graceful arcs that look like silver threads looping through the air. These leaps are part instinct, part play, gentle sparks of motion in an otherwise slow world. You pass a fish whose body shifts slightly to match the background. Many species use countershading, dark on top and light underneath, blending with both the sky and the deep water, depending on where they're viewed from. This natural gradient softens their presence, making them almost invisible in the drifting light. On a nearby rock, tiny fish graze together in a quiet rhythm. Some species spend hours each day cleaning surfaces, creating bright, algae-free patches that shimmer when the sun touches them. Their feeding shapes entire habitats, making way for plants and other creatures to flourish. Farther along, a fish carries strands of plant material to a small depression in the sand. Many fish build nests, crafting gentle circular hollows or weaving soft beds from gathered leaves. Their care is delicate, patient, and filled with quiet purpose. purpose. A flash of silver moves beside you, quick and purposeful. Some fish can swim backwards, using subtle fin adjustments to reverse their direction without turning. This creates a sense of graceful control, a slow dance with the flow of the water. Below you, a fish rests inside a hollow log. Many species seek shelter not from danger, but from bright light, preferring dim, shaded spaces that feel like underwater caves. These spots offer tranquility and a sense of drifting privacy. High above, a school of fish turns as one, a sweeping, fluid shape that curves like a ribbon. This movement, called schooling synchronization, relies on instant feedback from every fish's position and speed. It's a choreography built on instinct, quiet coordination, and shared presence. A little deeper down, the water grows cooler, and the colors begin to fade into soft blues and greens. Here, fish often grow slower metabolisms, conserving energy in cooler temperatures. Their motions feel dreamlike, unhurried, part of the larger rhythm of the depths. A fish with delicate thread-like fins trails them behind like flowing strands of silk. These extra-long fins help signal to others in gentle, peaceful ways, a display of calm movement rather than aggression. The fins sway like underwater ribbons, catching tiny rays of filtered light. Near the end of your drift, you notice large fish swimming steadily into a soft current. Many species face into flowing water to let oxygen-rich currents pass through their gills without effort, resting while seeming to move. It's a restful practice, like lying down in a gentle breeze. As the light dims a little more, the underwater world feels wrapped in its own slow heartbeat, filled with creatures that move with patience, sensitivity, and quiet grace. The deeper you drift, the more the world seems to sway with your breathing, a peaceful rhythm shared between you and the life that glides through the blue. The water feels wider now, stretching out like a slow, endless dream. Here, the world opens into gentle currents, and fish move through them with ease, letting the flow guide their quiet journeys. Everything feels suspended, your thoughts, the small ripples of sound, even time itself softens as you drift deeper into this calm blue space. A slender silver fish glides past, its scales catching light in soft, scattered flashes. Many fish rely on light scattering to stay safe, their bodies reflecting sunlight in unpredictable patterns that blend them into the shimmering water. It's a gentle kind of camouflage, built from brightness instead of shadow. You notice how some fish move in long, steady lines, barely bending their bodies at all. Species like tuna or mackerel use constant swimming techniques, conserving energy by gliding with rigid bodies and relying on powerful tail beats. Even their resting comes while moving, carried by the steady push of the ocean's rhythm. Below you, a pair of fish swim in small circles, their movements slow and patterned. Some species perform ritual dances to strengthen bonds, signaling trust and familiarity through coordinated motions. These dances are peaceful, quiet exchanges, soft conversations of motion. A larger fish approaches with curious caution, pausing just a few feet away. Fish often show exploratory behavior, approaching unfamiliar shapes slowly, observing with subtle fin shifts, before deciding whether to come closer or drift away. Their curiosity is gentle, patient, and never rushed. Nearby, a small group of fish swims close to drifting logs and branches. Many species use floating debris as shelter, protection, and meeting places. These quiet islands of shade become gathering spots in the open water, places where life collects and rests. As you drift farther, you watch a fish rise slowly toward the surface. Some fish gulp air, not for breathing, but to regulate their buoyancy, adjusting the pressure in their swim bladders with small sips of the world above the water. It's a peaceful ritual, repeated many times a day. A faint ripple passes overhead, the shadow of a bird far above the surface. Fish see these shapes with surprising clarity, their eyes adapted to wide-angle vision, allowing them to detect movement from nearly every direction. Their awareness is soft but constant, like a gentle hum of instinct. You float near a cluster of translucent drifting creatures that pulse with tiny movements. Fish often swim near these gentle organisms, using them as both shelter and a source of small, drifting food. Their presence adds a dreamlike softness to the water. A fish brushes against a patch of underwater plants, stirring them with delicate fin movements. Some species perform fin fanning behavior, fanning the water to uncover food hiding in the silt. The motion is slow, rhythmic, almost like tidying the world around them. You notice the way fish share space without touching, gliding past one another with effortless coordination. This comes from sensitivity to microcurrents, tiny changes in the water that act like an underwater map of everyone nearby. Every flick and sway is a gentle response to these quiet cues. A fish with unusually large pectoral fins glides downward like a drifting leaf. In many species, these fins act almost like wings, helping fish glide through the water or settle toward the bottom in slow spirals. It gives their descent a soft, feathery quality. Up ahead, you see a small fish shimmering with gold. Some fish produce iridescent layers not only to reflect light, but to signal calmness or readiness to mate. The glow changes with depth, becoming softer and more diffuse the deeper they go. In a patch of open water, a group of fish form a cloud-like shape, dispersing and then gathering again. This pulsing formation helps them confuse predators and also conserve energy by letting the group share the work of cutting through the current. You drift beside a species that seems to breathe more slowly than those above. Cold, deep water often leads fish to develop slower heart rates, helping them conserve energy in the quiet dimness. Their calm is not a choice, but a gentle adaptation shaped by the cool, steady environment. Another fish moves past with a wide, flattened face. Many species have suction mouths designed to cling to rocks or feed on tiny particles, allowing them to stay still even when currents shift around them. It's a peaceful way of anchoring themselves, turning moving water into a resting place. A trail of bubbles escapes from a nearby fish's gills. Sometimes small pockets of air get trapped during feeding or swimming, rising to the surface like soft beads of light. These bubbles add a quiet charm to the underwater world, drifting upward in slow lines. In the distance, you spot a fish with a stripe running along its body. Long horizontal stripes help species coordinate movement when swimming in groups, acting like visual guides for staying together. The lines become soft indicators of direction within the flowing water. Near a gentle slope, a fish begins to sift through soft sand, leaving delicate trails behind. These trails can become tiny habitats for even smaller creatures, showing how fish reshape their world with each moment of feeding and resting. A larger, slow-moving fish drifts through a patch of drifting plankton. Some species feed by simply passing through clouds of microscopic life, opening their mouths slightly and letting the water bring nourishment to them. It's one of the most peaceful feeding styles in the natural world. As you drift farther into the open current, everything feels spacious, unhurried, and filled with soft drifting shapes. Fish move as though time works differently here, slower, calmer, wrapped in the steady rhythm of flowing water. Here, the world feels like a gentle dream carried by the currents, inviting you to breathe slowly and stay with the quiet movement of the blue. The light around you grows dimmer now, not in a way that feels cold, but in a way that feels restful, as if the water itself is preparing for evening. This is the twilight zone of the underwater world, where colors soften, shapes move slowly, and fish drift in long, peaceful arcs through the fading light. A pale, slender fish swims nearby with large, gentle eyes. Down here, many species develop wide pupils to capture every available shimmer, turning even faint glows into useful guidance. Their eyes are tuned for softness, for living in the spaces between light and shadow. You drift beside a school of fish that pulse in coordinated waves. Each body catches the dim light in a slightly different way, creating a shimmering ripple that looks like a drifting silver cloud. This kind of synchronized movement helps them stay together even when visibility fades, guided by instinct and tiny shifts in the water. Below you, a fish rests quietly near a patch of dark sand. Some species change their habits in low light, choosing to stay closer to the bottom where the world feels more stable and sheltered. Their fins move slowly, carefully, as if they're walking on soft ground rather than swimming. Nearby, another fish glides with smooth, ribbon-like movements. Species in deeper waters often develop elongated bodies that sway softly with each current, conserving energy through gentle, effortless motion. Their silhouettes seem to drift like underwater fabric. As you move deeper, tiny specks of light begin to appear. Some fish carry bioluminescent organs glowing faintly in blues and greens. These lights help them find companions, attract drifting food, or simply stay visible to one another in the twilight. Their glow feels like starlight scattered into droplets. A small fish swims close to a rock, its body marked with subtle patterns. Many species use vertical stripes that break up their outline, helping them blend into stems, branches, and shadows. These patterns soften their presence, turning them into part of the quiet scenery. Drifting past a shelf of rock, you notice fish moving in slow spirals around its edge. Some species follow these paths every evening, using familiar routes to find food or resting spots. Routine brings them comfort, a daily rhythm shaped by the gentle turning of daylight. Ahead, a fish gently grazes along the base of a coral-like structure. In deeper waters, life grows in slow motion, and fish often feed with soft, continuous nibbles, taking only what they need from the sparse but steady food sources drifting past them. A graceful fish with long, delicate fin rays passes by, trailing them behind like threads of silk. These fins help them sense movement in the water with exceptional clarity, almost like fingertips brushing through the currents. You notice a fish that seems to glow from within, its body faintly lit by pockets of light. These internal glows help species recognize one another in the dusky water, forming silent signals that travel easily between drifting shapes. Nearby, Another fish glides close to the sandy floor. Some species use slow, undulating motions to disturb tiny organisms hidden beneath the surface, stirring up gentle clouds of drifting particles. This movement is peaceful, like sweeping a soft brush across a dusty surface. In the dimness, a fish opens its mouth slightly and filters water through fine gill rakers. Many twilight-dwelling species feed this way, letting the drifting current bring food to them instead of actively seeking it. Feeding becomes a slow, passive drift, nourishment carried by the water itself. One fish you pass has nearly translucent skin. Down here, where light is precious, many species become semi-transparent to avoid being seen by both predators and prey. Their bodies seem to dissolve into the blue around them, leaving only faint outlines behind. A pair of fish drift together, swimming just close enough to sense each other's movements. Some species remain in loose pairs throughout the evening hours, keeping gentle companionship as they navigate the dim world. Their movements are soft, shared, peaceful. Ahead, a fish rises slowly upward, following a beam of fading sunlight. Some species migrate vertically with the time of day, moving toward the surface as evening approaches and returning to deeper waters at dawn. This daily journey is one of the largest movement patterns on Earth, a gentle, rhythmic cycle driven by light. You see a group of fish pause briefly near a sunken log. They hover, motionless, conserving their energy, their bodies held steady by the soft lift of their pectoral fins. Stillness becomes a way of resting without fully stopping, a quiet suspension in the calm blue. As you watch them, the last traces of sunlight fade above you. The underwater world grows cooler, quieter, and calmer. Fish begin to gather in small clusters or drift into familiar hiding places, letting the gentle darkness wrap around them. The twilight zone feels like the ocean's version of dusk, a slow exhale, a softening of color, a quiet invitation to rest. Here, the world moves at its own gentle pace, shaped by the rhythm of deepening blue. The world around you becomes softer now, as if the water itself has slowed its thoughts. Colors fade into gentle blues and muted greens, and every movement seems to float in slow motion. This deeper layer of the underwater world feels like a place suspended between motion and stillness, a quiet dream carried by the currents. A fish with a round, gently shimmering body swims past. Many species in these deeper waters develop more compact shapes, helping them conserve warmth and move efficiently through cool, dense water. Their silhouettes are simple, calming, and beautifully adapted to the quiet around them. Nearby, a small group of fish hovers near a fallen branch. Some species gather around familiar structures each day, returning like visitors to a peaceful resting place. These underwater landmarks become their quiet anchor points in a drifting world. You notice how some fish move with almost no motion at all. Their fins create tiny ripples, just enough to hold them steady. This form of hovering stillness helps them conserve energy in a place where every small movement matters. Ahead, a delicate fish with wide fanning fins glides downward. Some species use their fins like soft parachutes, slowing their descent, so they drift like leaves falling through water. It creates a peaceful, floating sensation as they move from one level to another. A faint glimmer appears in the distance, a fish with reflective scales that catch even the weakest light. These shimmering surfaces help them stay visible to companions while blending into the soft blue around them, a quiet balance of presence and protection. You drift beside a species with long, slender whisker-like structures. These are sensory barbels, allowing the fish to feel and taste the water, sensing gentle movements or tiny food particles nearby. This extra awareness makes the water seem full of hidden paths only they can detect. A group of fish swims slowly across a slope of smooth rocks. Many species follow daily migration routes, not for long distances, but for small, comforting loops taken every morning or evening. These routes are like underwater walks, calm routines framed by the gentle rhythm of the day. Below, a fish uses its mouth to sift through soft sediment. Some fish are natural cleaners of their ecosystem, gently turning over sand and releasing nutrients into the water, making space for new life to grow. You notice a fish pause mid-swim, its body angled toward a gentle current. Many species rest by facing into slow-moving water, letting the flow pass through their gills so they can breathe without effort. It's a restful stance, like leaning into a quiet breeze. A pair of fish drift side by side, their fins brushing the water in lazy strokes. Some species form loose partnerships, staying close not out of necessity, but out of a peaceful companionship shaped by mutual rhythms. Nearby, a small fish settles into a shallow depression it has created in the sand. These small, resting hollows offer a sense of comfort and shelter, quiet beds carved gently into the underwater floor. A fish with soft, muted colors moves along a low ridge. In deeper water, bright colors fade, and many species shift to blues, silvers, and soft browns that blend harmoniously into the dimness. These hues feel gentle on the eyes, part of the calm itself. You drift past a group of fish feeding on tiny drifting organisms. Their mouths open and close gently, letting the water bring food to them. This style of feeding, slow and passive, feels like the underwater version of breathing. Another fish passes with its fins spread wide like gentle sails. Its body seems to float more than swim, carried by the subtle lift of water passing beneath its fins. These wide fin shapes help them navigate with little effort, turning drifting into an art. A flicker of motion catches your eye, a fish rising vertically toward the surface. Many species practice vertical feeding, tracing soft paths up and down through the water to find small drifting morsels. The movement looks like a slow, calming elevator ride through the blue. Below, a fish hides gently between two rocks, not from fear, but from preference. Some species simply love the dimness and quiet of sheltered spaces where the world feels more intimate. A larger fish glides by with a slow, confident rhythm. In deeper layers, fish often swim more deliberately, each movement measured and steady, conserving energy in the cool, dense water. A small shimmer draws your attention to a fish with nearly transparent fins. These delicate fins reduce drag and help the fish slip through the water with minimal effort. Watching them is like watching tiny wisps of glass drifting in the current. Near the end of your downward drift, you see a group of fish arranged in a loose circle. Some species gather this way for resting or early evening rituals, sharing warmth and calm before resuming their slow nighttime wanderings. The deeper water feels like a sanctuary, quiet, cool, and filled with soft movement. Fish here live according to the gentle pulse of their surroundings, each motion blending seamlessly into the drifting blue. The deeper you go, the more the world invites you to breathe slowly, to let your thoughts sway with the quiet fin strokes around you. As evening settles over the world above, a softer darkness begins to unfold beneath the water's surface. Here, nighttime doesn't arrive suddenly. It drifts in, gently, carried by cooler layers and fading beams of light. Fish adapt to this quiet shift with their own slow rhythms, turning the underwater world into a place of hushed movement and peaceful routines. A small, slender fish glides past you, its eyes shimmering faintly. Many species develop enhanced low-light vision, allowing them to see subtle contrasts even when the world is dark. Their sight is soft, sensitive, shaped for twilight rather than brightness. Nearby, a group of fish emerges from sheltered spots beneath roots and branches. Some species spend the day hiding in the calm protection of shadows and only begin their gentle wandering once the light grows dim. Night is their comfort, their peaceful time. A fish moves with slower, more deliberate strokes of its fins. Nocturnal species conserve energy by adopting low-motion swimming, drifting through the water like leaves carried by the night's current. Their movements look almost meditative. You drift beside a fish whose body glows with a faint, shimmering line. Some nighttime species rely on subtle bioluminescence, not bright enough to illuminate, but just enough for companions to recognize one another in the darkness. These glows are soft, like tiny lanterns drifting through the blue. A fish with delicate whisker-like barbels brushes the sand gently. Many nocturnal fish use heightened touch and taste, feeling their way through the water and sensing food with precise, gentle motions. Their world is shaped more by sensation than by sight. Ahead, you see a fish weaving calmly between stems of underwater plants. Certain species become bolder at night, exploring areas they avoid during the brighter daytime hours. The darkness feels like a protective blanket that invites gentle exploration. Another fish hovers motionless near a small ridge. Some species remain nearly still after dusk, saving their energy while letting the cool nighttime water flow over their gills. Their stillness becomes part of the quiet itself. You notice a fish rising slowly toward the surface. Many fish follow daily vertical migrations, moving upward at night to feed on drifting organisms that rise with the darkness. This gentle ascent is one of the largest coordinated movements of life on Earth, a nightly underwater tide. Nearby, a fish glides through a thin cloud of tiny plankton. Nocturnal fish often feed on plankton that glows softly when disturbed, creating tiny sparkles in the water like drifting stars. Each flicker feels like a brief whisper of light. A small, rounded fish gently rearranges pebbles below. Some species tidy their nests or resting spots at night, preparing the area before settling into their quiet overnight routines. Below you, a fish rests in a hollow beneath a rock. Certain nocturnal species choose protected sleeping spots, using the landscape as shelter during their calm nighttime drifting. Their rest is neither deep nor motionless. It's a soft, alert quiet. A slender fish swims with a wave that travels down its entire body. Nighttime brings cooler water, and many species adapt by using efficient, undulating motions that warm their muscles and keep them comfortable in the dimness. A fish with wide, petal-like fins drifts upward in a gentle spiral. Some species perform nightly rituals of slow, looping swims, perhaps as a way to stretch and prepare for feeding. These motions look like underwater dances. You pass a fish whose colors have faded in the low light. Many species undergo nighttime color changes, becoming paler or more muted as their pigments shift into resting mode. This softens their appearance into ghostly silhouettes. Nearby, a school of fish moves together in a loose formation. At night, schooling becomes less strict. The group spreads out slightly, giving each fish a little more space while still keeping the comfort of companionship. Their formation feels like a drifting constellation. Above, a fish brushes the surface with its mouth. Some species take small air sips at night when the water may hold less oxygen, making this a gentle nighttime ritual for balance and comfort. A pair of fish drift through the dimness side by side. Nocturnal pairs often stay close to one another, communicating through gentle fin flicks and tiny shifts in position. Their nighttime bond is quiet and steady. A fish settles into the soft debris beneath a log. Night brings lower temperatures, and many species tuck themselves into places where the water is slightly warmer and stiller. You watch as a group of fish glides peacefully into a sheltered area beneath fallen branches. Some species gather loosely in shared safe zones at night, resting together in calm clusters that feel like small underwater communities. Here in the quiet blue, the underwater world takes on a more intimate tone. Movement slows, colors dim, and the soft hush of nighttime wraps everything in calm. Fish navigate the darkness with gentle confidence, guided by senses tuned for stillness. The deeper night becomes, the more peaceful the water feels, a drifting, breathing quiet that invites you to slow down along with it. The world around you shifts into deeper stillness as night settles fully into the water. Down here, midnight doesn't feel dark or heavy. It feels soft, spacious, and full of quiet motion. Fish drift like slow-moving stars, guided by senses that awaken only in this darker, calmer time. A faint shimmer catches your eye, the tiny pulse of a fish emitting a soft glow. Some species rely on bioluminescent organs placed along their sides or beneath their bellies, creating gentle points of light that help them stay connected in the vast dimness. The glow is peaceful, never bright, like embers drifting in blue water. Nearby, a small fish glides just above the sand, using the faintest flick of its fins to stay balanced. Many midnight active species expend very little energy, letting cool currents carry them while they remain poised in slow floating stillness. A larger fish approaches with a slight ripple of movement. It uses enhanced lateral line sensitivity to detect even the quietest vibrations. The drift of plankton, the passing of other fish, the distant echo of movement far above. Its world is shaped by touch carried through water. You drift beside a species with ribbon-like fins trailing behind it, like soft threads. These long fins help them sense subtle shifts in water pressure, allowing them to navigate the darkness with effortless precision. A fish rises gently toward a faint patch of glowing plankton. Midnight is when many microorganisms shimmer softly with light, and fish come to feed in slow, sweeping arcs, brushing through clouds of sparkling life. Each movement leaves a temporary trail of flickering blue dots. On the sandy bottom, a shy fish settles into a shallow hollow. Some species dig these resting spots every night, forming soft bowls that cradle their bodies as they drift into partial sleep. The sand cushions them, holding warmth from the day. A fish moves past whose body glistens with silver even in the low light. Reflective scales help species blend into the dim glow, appearing like moving fragments of moonlight. This makes their presence gentle, almost otherworldly. Ahead, a pair of fish swims in slow spirals around each other. Many species perform nighttime bonding rituals, softly circling or hovering close as a way of reinforcing companionship. Their movements feel like a shared breath. Another fish hovers above a rock, its fins extended like delicate wings. Species with wide pectoral fins often sleep or rest in this floating posture, barely moving, letting the water support them completely. You notice small, transparent fish weaving through the shadows. Some deep night species become nearly invisible in darkness, their bodies letting the surrounding blue pass right through them. Only their faint internal glow reveals their gentle outlines. A fish with a long, slender mouth brushes the substrate. Many nocturnal feeders rely on fine-tuned taste receptors to find food in the dark, grazing softly without stirring the stillness around them. Nearby, a group of fish rises and falls together in a rhythmic pattern. This vertical drifting is part of a natural night cycle, helping them follow plankton that moves upward when sunlight disappears. A gentle swirl of movement reveals a fish stirring up a small cloud of sand. Some species do this to uncover tiny organisms, feeding on what drifts upward in the slow floating particles. The motion is calm, like brushing dust from a tabletop. You drift past a fish whose skin shows faint, shifting colors. Even in the dark, some species maintain nighttime pigments, helping them communicate in low-light wavelengths invisible to humans. These colors glow only faintly, like soft echoes on their skin. A fish pauses beneath an overhang, its tail gently waving. Shelters like rocks, roots, and overhangs create warm pockets where fish gather to rest, especially during the deepest part of the night. You notice another fish gently tracing a circular path around a submerged branch. Some species patrol familiar territories with relaxed, unhurried motions, checking their quiet nighttime boundaries before drifting away again. A school of tiny fish passes overhead, moving like a soft silver cloud. At night, schools spread out slightly, giving individuals more space while still retaining the comfort of group movement. Their drifting formation looks like a long veil gliding through the water. A fish rises close to the surface, where faint beams of moonlight reach down through the ripples above. Some species are drawn to the softer glow of the moon, following it through the water like a gentle guide. You see a fish tucked between smooth stones, resting with its fins folded close. Many species enter a resting state that slows their metabolism, letting them drift into a dreamlike calm without losing awareness entirely. As you continue drifting, the water grows cooler and more serene. The deeper night fills with tiny glows, soft movements, and a rhythm that feels as gentle as breathing. Here, in the midnight waters, life moves with quiet intention, slow, glowing, and endlessly peaceful. As you drift farther from the shallows, the water settles into an even quieter stillness. Here, the deep water world feels vast yet comforting, a place where motion slows to a soothing rhythm and fish glide like drifting thoughts, passing gently through the mind. The deeper you go, the more the world becomes a calm tapestry of faint light, muted colors, and subtle movement. A fish with a soft, rounded body drifts past at an unhurried pace, Many deep-water species move slowly to conserve energy in the cool, dense water around them. Their bodies are shaped for efficiency, their motions quiet and deliberate. Nearby, a fish uses its broad pectoral fins like small wings. Some species rely on wing-like gliding, moving forward with minimal effort, as if they're simply falling through water. The effect is peaceful, a gentle descent wrapped in silence. A faint shimmer reveals a translucent fish whose body seems to glow from within. In deeper layers, some species reduce pigmentation to blend into the darkness, letting their bodies become part of the quiet blue. Their near transparency adds to the stillness, making them feel like drifting spirits of the water. Drifting above a rock formation, you see a fish gently brushing its fins against the surface. Many species use touch to orient themselves, tapping lightly against rocks or plants to create a soft map of their surroundings. You pass a fish with a slightly upturned mouth that seems to smile at the water. This shape is common among species that feed on drifting particles from above, letting food float into their mouths without any hurried motion. A group of fish hovers together in a loose formation. Deep water schooling is often more relaxed, with individuals giving each other more space while still sharing the comfort of quiet companionship. Their coordinated drifting looks like a soft cloud moving in slow harmony. Below you, a long fish nestles into a shallow depression in the sand. Some species create these resting hollows each evening, shaping the sand with gentle movements until it feels just right beneath them. A fish rises from the depths with slow, purposeful movements. Certain species practice vertical foraging, traveling upward at night and sinking gently back down during the day in a calm, rhythmic cycle. You notice a fish with unusually long barbels trailing beneath its chin. These delicate sensory organs help it feel vibrations and taste molecules from all directions, turning the dark water into a field of soft signals. A distant sparkle catches your eye, a fish using faint bioluminescence to communicate. Some deep water species flash gentle patterns of light to send signals to others, forming a quiet language of glimmers in the dark. Nearby, a fish with smooth, pale scales hovers motionless. Stillness is a skill here. Many species rest in a floating posture that barely disturbs the surrounding water, conserving energy for when the currents shift. A fish glides along the bottom, fanning its fins gently. This fanning behavior stirs up tiny particles hidden beneath the surface, revealing small organisms that drift upward just long enough to be eaten. Another fish has a body pattern of soft speckles. These subtle markings break up its shape, helping it blend into the scattered glow of light, reaching this depth. A small group of fish drift among tall underwater plants whose tips sway like slow-moving grass. These plants act as shelters, and fish weave through them with gentle caution, using the stems as both guidance and comfort. A long-bodied fish passes, moving with an elegant wave from head to tail. This undulating motion is efficient in deep water and creates a calming visual rhythm, like watching ribbon drift in slow currents. You see a fish pause and angle its body upward. Some species rest by aligning themselves with a faint vertical glow from above, using light as a soft compass to stay oriented in the twilight. A curious fish approaches you slowly, then drifts back. Deep water species often show gentle curiosity, investigating shapes and movements with small, cautious fin flicks. before returning to stillness. A tiny fish emerges from beneath a rock ledge. Many species use crevices and shelters during the quiet hours of night, keeping their bodies tucked in safe, shaded places. A fish moves past whose fins are almost invisible, thin, glass-like extensions that catch only the faintest hints of light. These delicate fins reduce drag, allowing the fish to swim with minimal effort. Ahead, a school of nearly transparent fish swims through a faint beam of moonlight filtering down from the surface. Their bodies catch the glow in brief flashes, creating the illusion of drifting silver dust suspended in the water. In this deep water calm, every movement feels slow, soft, and perfectly in tune with the quiet blue around you. Fish here live in harmony with the deep, moving gently, resting often, and letting the water support their every drift. The deeper you go, the more the world feels like a quiet dream, wrapped in layers of peaceful motion and soft glowing life. Somewhere far above, morning begins to stir, though down here, the change arrives in the softest possible way. Light doesn't appear suddenly. It seeps gently into the water, turning the darkness into velvety blue. Fish feel this long before it becomes visible, shifting into early dawn rhythms that unfold in calm, drifting motions. A slender fish rises from its resting hollow with a small flutter of fins. Many species awaken slowly, easing into movement the way you might stretch beneath warm blankets. Their first motions of the day are unhurried and soft. Nearby, a pair of fish circles each other in a gentle spiral. Certain species greet the dawn with morning rituals, swimming in slow patterns to re-establish companionship and shared direction. These movements feel like the underwater version of a quiet good morning. You drift beside a fish whose body glows softly in the dimness. Some dawn-active species have light-sensitive pigments that respond to the earliest traces of morning glow, shifting their colors in calm, gradual transitions. Along the sandy floor, a small fish sifts through fine sediment. Morning is a peaceful feeding time for many species, when drifting nighttime particles have settled into soft layers that are easy to graze. A fish with long, thread-like fins hovers delicately near a patch of underwater plants. These fins act like gentle sensors, brushing the water with tiny movements to detect the faint stirrings of other waking fish. Higher above, a small school begins to gather in loose formation. As light returns, schooling behavior becomes more coordinated, though still soft and relaxed in these early hours. Their shapes shift like drifting fabric in the water. A deeper dwelling fish moves slowly upward, following a familiar vertical path. Many species take part in deal migrations, rising toward the surface at dawn to feed on tiny organisms that also ascend with the new light. A faint sparkle appears as a fish stirs bioluminescent plankton, lingering from the night. These gentle flashes fade with morning, but in the transition time, they look like tiny stars dissolving into the blue. You drift near a fish resting against a smooth rock. Some species rely on subtle temperature changes to decide when to begin their day. As sunlight warms the upper layers, the deeper water shifts just enough to signal a slow awakening. In a nearby shadowed area, a fish extends its fins in a long, graceful stretch. Fins are filled with tiny muscles and flexible rays, and these gentle morning stretches help prepare them for the slow wandering ahead. A larger fish passes with steady, patient movements. Morning currents tend to be calmer, and many species take advantage of this. drifting long distances with minimal effort, guided by cool, slow-moving water. You see a fish approach a cluster of plants, nibbling softly at new growth. Plant-feeding species often begin their day at first light, when their food is freshest and most tender. Nearby, another fish brushes lightly against the sand, stirring up a small cloud of particles. Some species use this method each morning to uncover small organisms hidden beneath the surface. A fish swims with slow confidence through a patch of gently rising bubbles. These bubbles come from underwater plants beginning their daily process of photosynthesis, releasing tiny pearls of oxygen as the light grows stronger. A group of fish swims together in gentle arcs around a rock formation. These repeating patterns help them orient themselves for the day, forming a natural morning map of familiar places. A fish with delicate coloration moves along the bottom, its hues soft and muted. As dawn strengthens, its pigments shimmer subtly, a natural response to the slow return of light. A small fish rises toward the surface in a quiet, measured line. Many fish follow light gradients, swimming upward, not toward brightness, but toward the feeling of the water slowly warming. Far above, diagonal beams of morning sunshine begin to filter into the water, creating soft shafts of pale gold. Fish drift into these beams, using them like gentle pathways to explore new areas with the comfort of early light. A curious fish swims close to you, then circles away in a relaxed arc. Morning brings a sense of calm exploration for many species, a time to wander softly before the day fully awakens. A fish with broad, leaf-like fins glides downward again, settling into a shaded pocket beneath overhanging stones. Some fish prefer to stay in dappled light during early dawn, adjusting their bodies to the slow, warming gradient of the water. Below, a small group of fish begins to forage in unison, their movements gentle and synchronized. Dawn feeding is often a shared ritual, done quietly and steadily, with no rush at all. The underwater world at dawn feels like a slow exhale, darkness lifting in soft layers, life stirring with gentle intention. Every fish moves in harmony with the new day, drifting into light with the same ease as a calm morning breath. As dawn strengthens, the world beneath the surface warms into soft color. Light spreads slowly, drifting through the water in pale ribbons that sway with the currents. Fish begin to greet the new day with calm motions, taking their time as the morning unfolds in a peaceful, steady glow. A delicate fish rises into a beam of early sunlight. Many species seek out these warm shafts of light each morning, letting the gentle brightness help wake their bodies. The warmth settles into their scales like a soft morning blanket. Nearby, a group of fish glides past in relaxed formation. Schooling becomes more organized in the morning as visibility improves, though the movements remain smooth and unhurried. The fish drift in slow arcs, shimmering like a quiet dance. You notice a fish nibbling softly at a patch of algae. Morning is one of the most active feeding times for plant-eating species, when fresh growth glows with new color and delicate textures. Their feeding motions are rhythmic and soothing. A slender fish glides upward and pauses just beneath the surface. Some species take in a small sip of air at the start of each day to adjust their buoyancy. This simple ritual helps them float effortlessly throughout their calm morning wanderings. Below, a fish uses its fins to sweep a gentle current, across the sand. This fin-fanning behavior uncovers small organisms that settled overnight, stirring them into the water where they drift like soft, drifting dust. A fish with a long, elegant tail passes nearby. Morning light reveals delicate iridescence along its fins, hues that shift between blue, gold, and silver depending on the angle. These shimmering colors help species communicate quietly as the day begins. You drift over a large stone where a fish rests, basking in the gentle rise of water temperature. Certain species gather in warm patches during early morning hours, allowing sunlight-filtered heat to seep into their bodies. A fish moves toward a patch of underwater plants, brushing against them with slow, thoughtful motions. These plants release tiny oxygen bubbles when touched, forming soft trails of light that rise toward the surface. A small group swims through the bubbles, letting them glide along their scales. The bubbles cling for a moment, sparkling like tiny pearls before drifting away. These morning oxygen streams feel like nature's quiet greeting. You pass a fish adjusting its colors subtly. Morning often triggers color-brightening pigments, enabling species to communicate more clearly as visibility improves. It's a gentle awakening of patterns. A curious fish approaches you with small, fluttering motions of its fins. Morning brings a calmer alertness, not hurried, just quietly attentive to the shapes and life around it. A fish with delicate barbel-like whiskers searches along a sandy ridge. With the new light, it can combine touch and faint vision to find small morsels still resting from the night's settling currents. Above you, a school of tiny fish moves through dappled brightness. Light filtering through the surface creates waving patterns like soft lace across their bodies, turning their movement into a flowing, gentle tapestry. A fish settles near a patch of rocks, picking at tiny particles with slow taps. Morning feeding is never a rush for deep-water creatures. It's a steady process shaped by the quiet return of light. Another fish displays a soft flash of color along its side. These brightening hues often signal comfort, safety, or readiness to explore as the day unfolds. A long-bodied fish swims in a graceful curve through the open water. With morning currents still mild, it takes advantage of the gentle flow to travel effortlessly, conserving energy for the warmer hours ahead. A fish rises into a sunlit area, then drifts back into shade. Some species regulate their temperature this way, moving between light and shadow in a slow, balancing rhythm. Below, a fish digs a small depression in the sand, forming a morning resting spot. These shallow bowls feel comfortable and familiar, offering a sense of security for the quieter hours ahead. You watch as a school of shimmering silver fish splits into two groups before merging again. This dynamic movement helps keep the school coordinated as new members join after their nighttime resting. A fish with translucent fins pauses in midwater. The early sunlight passes through its fins like light through thin petals, revealing delicate patterns hidden in darkness. Nearby, a fish examines a cluster of floating plant fragments. Some species collect small pieces to reinforce nests, rearranging their gentle underwater homes as the day begins. A pair of fish drift close together in steady, synchronized movements. Morning strengthens these bonds, giving them a chance to reaffirm companionship through subtle fin flicks and shared roots. As sunlight gently deepens, the underwater world brightens with calm purpose. Fish move with soft confidence into the day, warmed by the rising light, guided by familiar currents, and cradled by the slow rhythm of morning water. The world here feels peaceful, balanced, a soft beginning shaped by drifting beams of light and gentle fins brushing through the calm. As the morning settles fully into day, the water becomes brighter, clearer, and gently warm. Sunlight stretches far into the depths, turning the world into a soft mosaic of glimmering shapes and drifting shadows. Midday, underwater, is never harsh. It's a calm, glowing time when fish move with unhurried confidence through the sunlit blue. A slender fish glides into a wide band of light. Many species seek out these bright zones during midday, absorbing warmth that helps them move more efficiently. The sunlight forms soft halos around their scales. Nearby, a small group of fish swims in loose formation. With the day fully awake, schooling becomes more playful and fluid. They weave through each other in gentle patterns, creating shimmering ribbons of movement. You pass a fish with muted pastel colors. In bright water, some species soften their hues to avoid standing out too sharply. Their pigments shift to blend into the gentle brightness, giving them a calm, watercolor-like appearance. A fish swims close to a large stone, brushing against its surface. These subtle touches help species maintain awareness of their surroundings, using textures to create a mental map of safe resting spots. Just ahead, a fish with long pectoral fins hovers gracefully. Midday brings gentle currents, and species with wide, wing-like fins ride these flows, drifting almost without effort. You notice a fish nibbling delicately at a patch of submerged roots. Plant-feeding species often graze during midday when sunlight has warmed the plant surfaces, making them more tender and flavorful. A pair of fish swim side by side, pausing occasionally to inspect the same small object. These tiny shared moments are part of how fish maintain companionship, communicating through subtle shifts in angle and motion. Further on, a fish with a sleek body glides quickly through a sunlit patch. Some species take advantage of midday visibility to forage over longer distances, using the clear water as an easy pathway. Near a shaded overhang, a small fish rests in place, its fins gently adjusting with the currents. Many species balance their time between bright water and cool pockets of shade, regulating their comfort through slow movement between the two. A group of tiny fish flickers past you like a cloud of glittering dust. Their small bodies scatter sunlight in countless directions, creating a shimmering effect that feels like drifting silver rain. Beneath you, a fish slowly fans the sand with rhythmic sweeps of its tail. This uncovering motion stirs up small organisms, offering a gentle midday meal that drifts slowly upward. A curious fish approaches, studying you with calm, steady eyes. Certain species become more exploratory in bright hours, using good visibility to examine new shapes and spaces with soft, cautious movements. Along a low ridge, a fish uses its slender mouth to pick at small organisms hiding among stones. Midday feeding is often precise and patient, with fish taking their time to explore every sheltered crevice. A fish with translucent fins rises into a beam of light, its body glowing faintly as the sunlight passes through. The effect is serene, as if the fish is made of gently lit glass moving through warm blue water. You drift beside a fish with delicate, overlapping scales. These scales catch the midday sun in tiny flashes, helping the fish signal its presence to others without making abrupt motions. A long-bodied fish performs slow, looping arcs around a tall column of underwater vegetation. Many species use midday hours to explore the spaces between plants, gliding through pathways shaped by soft swaying stems. In a deeper patch of light, a small school hovers, near motionless. This midday resting drift allows fish to conserve energy during the sunniest hours, floating gently as the water holds them in calm suspension. A fish stirs up a soft trail of tiny bubbles as it grazes along the surface. These bubbles catch the sun and rise like bright beads, tracing its quiet path. Nearby, you see a fish adjusting its depth with tiny fin flicks. Even during bright hours, some species prefer to linger just below the light's strongest reach, balancing visibility and comfort. A pair of fish drift beneath an outcrop of smooth stone. They rest there together, suspended in the slow midday current, sharing the gentle quiet of a shaded pocket. Along the edge of a rocky slope, a solitary fish glides with peaceful certainty. Its silhouette moves like a soft brushstroke through the brightened water, unhurried and steady. As midday deepens, the underwater world becomes a serene blend of warm light and cool shadows. Fish swim with calm purpose, guided by gentle currents and the soft glow filtering down from above. Here, the water feels steady and balanced, a quiet space where the sunlit day drifts slowly, inviting you to move with its peaceful rhythm. As the sun begins its gentle descent, the underwater world takes on a softer glow. The brightness shifts from clear midday gold to warmer, more diffuse light that stretches gently across rocks, plants, and drifting shapes. Afternoon underwater feels calm and unhurried, a time when fish settle into peaceful routines shaped by the slow arc of the day. A fish passes through a wide column of warm light, its colors deepening slightly. Many species show their most vivid hues in the afternoon as sunlight softens, bringing out subtle tones hidden earlier in the day. Nearby, a small group drifts quietly together. Afternoon schooling becomes looser and more relaxed, with fish giving each other more space while still sharing the comfort of gentle companionship. You drift beside a fish grazing slowly along a patch of algae-covered stone. Afternoons are perfect for grazing. The light is soft, the water is calm, and tiny organisms have settled onto surfaces throughout the day. The fish feeds in rhythmic, peaceful nibbles. Above you, a larger fish glides toward a shaded area, slipping into the dimmer light beneath overhanging roots. Many species move between light and shadow during the afternoon to maintain their preferred temperature as the water warms. A delicate fish with translucent fins swims past, its body reflecting soft gold from the sinking sun. The light catches its scales in a way that makes it look as if it's glowing from within. Beneath a smooth rock shelf, a fish rests with barely any movement. Afternoon often brings periods of stillness when fish let the slow current cradle them, conserving energy while observing the world through gentle awareness. A pair of fish weave through tall underwater plants, swimming in slow harmony. Afternoon currents cause the plants to sway in soft, steady rhythms, creating peaceful pathways that fish glide through with effortless grace. You notice a fish stirring the sand with tiny movements of its fins. This afternoon, foraging helps uncover small organisms that have settled during the brighter hours. A slender fish darts briefly into a beam of sunlight, then slips back into shadow. Some species use this contrast to forage for drifting particles more easily, switching between brightness and dimness with quiet precision. Nearby, a group of tiny fish flickers like silver sparks as they cross a warm patch of light. Their scales catch the sun in countless reflections, moving like drifting glitter across the water. A curious fish approaches you, circling slowly before drifting away. Fish often show a gentle curiosity in the afternoon when they are relaxed and have settled into familiar routes. A fish with long barbels explores the bottom, feeling textures and subtle vibrations. These sensory organs are especially useful in late-day water when light patterns change and shadows deepen. A school of fish passes overhead in a soft, coordinated arc. Their movement casts dancing patterns on the sand below, shaped by the gentle bending of afternoon light. You drift by a fish resting against a cluster of fallen branches. This sheltered spot offers a pocket of calm water, a perfect place for an afternoon pause. A fish swims through floating strands of plant material, nudging them gently aside. These drifting pieces become temporary hiding places, travel paths, or tiny underwater landmarks. A long-bodied fish begins a slow downward glide toward cooler depths. Some species retreat slightly deeper as the day warms, seeking the comfort of cooler afternoon layers. Another fish glides upward instead, moving into a warm, sunlit corridor near the surface. Its scales turn soft copper beneath the afternoon glow, creating a peaceful shimmer that ripples through the water. A small group gathers near a rock ledge, circling lazily in a loose formation. These afternoon gatherings help fish stay connected before the evening hours begin. Below, a fish with delicate branching fins hovers with no apparent effort at all. The calm afternoon currents support its slow, suspended posture. You see another fish drift into a shadowed pocket to rest, folding its fins close. The cooler shade offers a gentle break from the warm light above. Along a slope of smooth stones, a fish grazes softly, creating tiny trails that glimmer as particles float upward. These trails drift slowly in the sunbeams, like underwater dust illuminated in a quiet room. The afternoon world beneath the water feels serene, warm in some places, cool in others, but always steady and balanced. Fish move with relaxed intention, guided by soft sunlight, gentle currents, and the slow, peaceful rhythm of the descending day. As the sun moves lower in the sky, the underwater world shifts once again. Afternoon gold deepens into warm amber, and every surface, stones, plants, drifting particles, begins to glow softly in the fading light. Evening underwater is a tender transition, calm and slow, inviting every living creature to move with a little more ease, a little more softness. A glimmer of movement catches your eye as a fish drifts through a fading beam of sunlight. Many species show their most delicate patterns at this hour as the low light enhances subtle markings that were hidden during brighter parts of the day. Nearby, a small group of fish gathers near a gentle current. Evening currents tend to be smooth and steady, and fish often use them as quiet pathways, letting the flow guide them without much effort. You watch as a fish slowly sweeps its tail across the sand. This evening, foraging brings up tiny organisms that settled during the day, allowing fish to feed with soft, unhurried motions. Above, a slender fish rises toward the surface. Some species ascend in the evening to enjoy the warmth of the upper layers before night slowly cools the water again. It hovers just beneath the shimmering surface, bathed in a final glow of golden light. A pair of fish swim side by side, moving with a gentle, synchronized rhythm. Evening strengthens companionship among many species as they swim closer together in the calm hours before dusk fully arrives. You drift beside a fish with long, delicate fins that trail behind it like soft silk. The warm light highlights faint hues of pink and lavender along its edges, colors revealed only during the mellow glow of evening. In the shadow of a tall plant, a fish settles into a familiar resting spot. Many species begin preparing for nighttime long before the sun disappears, slipping into quiet areas where the world feels sheltered. A slow swirl of motion reveals a group of tiny fish drifting past you. The fading light catches their scales in pastel tones, giving them a dreamy watercolor quality as they move through the softening blue. A fish brushes lightly against a piece of driftwood, using touch to orient itself. Evening shadows grow longer and gentler, and fish rely more on subtle cues as the colors around them deepen. You notice a larger fish exploring the shallow edges of a rock formation. Evening brings cooler water along these surfaces, creating soothing pockets where fish gather to relax. In a patch of calm, a fish opens and closes its mouth in slow, even motions. This gentle breathing rhythm becomes more pronounced at dusk as species prepare for the quieter hours ahead. A solitary fish glides through a corridor of plants, its body weaving in and out like a ribbon. Evening plant shadows sway with the soft currents, creating drifting patterns that fish navigate with serene precision. A group of fish circles a sandy area in loose spirals. This evening circling helps them stay connected as they adjust to dimming light, maintaining a peaceful sense of community. A tiny fish pauses among floating fragments left from the day. These gentle pieces, bits of leaves, tiny plant fibers, create a comforting backdrop, drifting slowly downward like soft underwater confetti. You drift past a fish whose scales now appear deeper in tone. Evening often triggers subtle color shifts that help species blend into the dimming environment. A fish with slender barbels sweeps them across the sand, sensing tiny vibrations. These delicate organs become especially important at dusk as visual cues grow softer and more diffuse. Higher above, a school of fish glides through a warm band of light one last time before it fades. Their bodies shimmer together, forming a moving ribbon of gold along the water's upper layers. A fish rests beneath the arches of a submerged branch, its body completely still except for a slow sway of its fins. Evening is a time when many species conserve energy, letting the water cradle them into calm. Along the soft slope of the underwater floor, a long-bodied fish begins a slow descent into deeper, cooler layers, preparing for the quiet of night. Another fish moves upward instead, searching for tiny drifting insects that settle near the surface as dusk approaches. Its gentle motions make ripples of soft light dance through the water. A pair of fish hover just above a sheltered crevice, exchanging tiny fin flicks as if sharing a quiet conversation before settling into their nighttime rhythm. As the last traces of sunlight fade, the underwater world embraces its evening calm. Warm light dissolves into cool blue, movements slow to a serene pace, and fish drift with gentle certainty into the softening world. The water feels peaceful, steady, and beautifully quiet, a perfect transition toward night. As the last traces of daylight slip away, the underwater world becomes a place of deep, soothing quiet. The warm colors of evening dissolve into calm blue, then into a gentle, velvety darkness that wraps itself around every drifting shape. Night here is not sudden or sharp. It unfolds peacefully, like a long exhale, touching everything with softness. A slender fish glides past, its movement slower now. Many species enter night-resting rhythms, reducing their activity and allowing the cool, dark water to support them. They swim less, drift more, and move as though guided by the rhythm of their own calm breaths. Nearby, a small group of fish gathers in a sheltered hollow. Even species that wander alone by day often rest together at night, finding comfort in quiet companionship. Their bodies hover in place, fins gently pulsing to keep them suspended. You notice a fish whose colors have softened to muted tones. Nighttime brings natural color shifts that help fish blend into the dim water, turning their bodies into gentle silhouettes. These pigments settle slowly like soft ink diffusing into blue. Above you, a tiny glow flickers, a fish activating faint bioluminescent markings. These subtle lights help individuals stay aware of one another in the darkness, forming drifting constellations beneath the surface. A fish brushes lightly against a rock, feeling textures rather than relying on sight. At night, touch becomes a quiet guide. Species with sensory barbels or heightened lateral lines sense the smallest ripples as though the water itself were whispering. A long-bodied fish moves past with a smooth, undulating wave. These gentle motions take little effort, allowing it to glide through the nighttime calm as if the water were carrying it forward. You drift near a fish resting among tall plants, its body partially hidden between soft, swaying leaves. Night is their time to find peaceful shelter, a calm pocket where the world feels enclosed and safe. A pair of fish hover closely, their fins barely moving. Night strengthens bonds between companions, their shared nearness acting as a quiet reassurance in the dim blue. A small fish rises toward the surface in a slow, climbing motion. Some species take gentle sips of air even at night to adjust buoyancy or comfort, creating tiny ripples that fade almost instantly. Below, a fish stirs the sand with a lazy sweep of its tail, settling into a shallow depression. This nighttime nestling provides warmth and comfort, a resting place shaped by instinct and softness. A school of tiny fish drifts like a cloud in the distance. Their formation is looser now, more relaxed, as they move with less urgency. Night water slows everything, even the way groups breathe and glide. A fish with wide pectoral fins glides horizontally for a moment, then gently tilts downward into deeper blue. This slow descent helps species find layers of water that match their preferred nighttime temperature. You see another fish resting motionless inside a natural crevice. Its body seems perfectly still, yet its awareness remains. Night rest is never absolute sleep. It is a floating, alert calm. A faint shimmer reveals a fish stirring bioluminescent plankton with its fins. The particles glow for just a moment, creating tiny sparks before fading back into darkness. A curious fish approaches, then circles away with soft, careful movements. Night brings a calm curiosity, shaped by caution and quiet exploration, rather than bright daytime energy. You drift beside a fish whose translucent fins catch the faintest glimmers of blue light. At night, these fins look like delicate ribbons drifting through water that feels almost weightless. A large, slow-moving fish settles near a rock formation, its body angled slightly for comfort. Night's coolness slows its heartbeat to a steady, peaceful rhythm. Nearby, a tiny fish rests atop a leaf-like plant, barely moving. Some species choose elevated resting spots where the water is stiller and the darkness is gentle rather than total. A soft swirl of movement reveals a fish moving deeper into shadow, seeking the quietest pockets of the nighttime world. A pair of fish swim together once more, a final slow loop before they retreat into their chosen shelters for the night. Their movement is tender, unhurried, wrapped in the calm of the descending dark. As the deep night settles fully, the underwater world becomes a cradle of stillness. Every ripple softens, every motion slows, and every creature drifts into its own form of quiet rest. The water feels like a warm, protective blanket, steady, gentle, and comforting. You float here with the fish, surrounded by soft darkness, drifting on peaceful currents. Nothing rushes, nothing disturbs. Only the quiet blue remains, holding you in a gentle embrace. Whenever you're ready, you can let your eyes grow heavy, your breath soften, and your thoughts drift like the fish around you, calm, slow, and deeply at ease.